Hey, everybody. Really excited to speak with Oliver, who just broke into Oracle as an SDR. Really excited for you, starting here in just a few months. Maybe setting the stage for everyone, share a little bit about your background and what got you looking at tech sales in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. So, going into college, I was an undeclared major. I was undecided, so I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But after kind of going through my first year and a half and kind of like weighing out my options, I started finding a few YouTube videos on tech sales, and it seemed like something that kind of fit the type of person that I am. Very, very outgoing, very confident, very, I like performance-based roles. So I thought sales would be a perfect place for me. And then I found your channel and I started kind of getting into the whole idea of tech sales and, how great of a career it is long term. And I thought it would be, really great to see and great to learn about. So I like switched my major to international affairs and then minored in business. And I just kind of went through college doing a lot of research on different companies, how to kind of break in, find out what best ways to break in. And when it was time for me to start applying, I decided to buy higher levels because I knew I wanted to take it seriously. And I wanted to give myself like the best chance possible to really like get at a good company. And, I really started by just applying on LinkedIn. I really had to like upgrade my LinkedIn. And that was something that was really lagging a lot. And getting kind of the mass applying, and it just doesn't really work. It doesn't work. You have to make connections on LinkedIn, and that's something I really, really learned throughout this whole process. But yeah, I mean, it's really exciting, really, really exciting. So I'd love to, dive into that and talk a little bit more about it. And so yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's all awesome to see. And yeah, those are very common things, especially like coming out of school that I had to work on myself. A lot of people take for granted. And
Mhm.
it's not even so much that there's like a secret way to do it. But to be honest, oftentimes coming out of college, I feel like to your point, like so many college students haven't put thought into that. Then they're throwing it up together like right at the end. And if you
Exactly.
even just have a solid LinkedIn, you're right out of the gate, like setting yourself apart among many other things that we'll get into. I am curious, maybe taking a quick step back too on your decision to invest in higher levels. You're at a university, maybe they have career counseling. I'm not sure if you looked at other programs. There's a lot of, tech sales coaches and boot camps. Anything specifically that made you feel higher levels was actually a great fit for you?
Yeah, so I never really thought that I'd be the person to really buy a program because I always thought like, oh, I can do it on my own. And I saw some other programs out there. I know, of course, Careers. There's a few other ones as well. But I think the ultimate decision that like really made me decide on higher levels was the fact that I just been following you for a really long time. I knew who like I kind of had an idea of who you are. I saw a lot of the interviews of you interviewing people who used higher levels to get into certain jobs, and I just thought, I think this guy seems pretty trustworthy. And, I had some money saved up, so I made the purchase. And yeah, I mean, again, I'm not a very organized person, which is something I'm trying to work on a lot. So having kind of all the resources that higher levels offers, being able to use all of that was fantastic. The interview workbook, the videos, and the LinkedIn managing, and all of that stuff are just little things that I just wouldn't really think about as much. So started with the upgrading my LinkedIn and all that, and yeah, I mean, it just went great from there. Just started reaching out to a bunch of people on LinkedIn, and but yeah, and of course, I mean, higher levels has been fantastic. So I mean, kudos
Yeah.
to you.
No, it's awesome to see. And I mean, we can lay it out for you, but at the same time, I know several of the companies that you were able to get interviews with are notoriously intense. So actually showing up and performing in real time, like you got to put a lot of work and preparation into that. Obviously, I know you did that really well. And if you don't mind me asking too, this next question in terms of, we were talking on the recording, sounds like some of your interviews, which is totally normal, by the way, and I think an immensely valuable part of the process, didn't really go well. I'm sure you learned a ton from some early failures, maybe sharing one or two of those experiences, what that was like, and some of the biggest things you learned from those early failures.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I applied to a bunch of different companies trying to start out. I look on RepView to kind of get an idea of what companies were good to work for. So I went through Gartner, HubSpot, Snowflake, MongoDB, all these companies. And I think I learned a lot from each company in each interview process that I went through. And I think that's what ultimately was the reason I kind of landed at Oracle, is the fact that I went through all those interview process, and every failure that I got just got me a little bit more knowledgeable about everything. And one thing I really struggled with at first was the behavioral analysis questions. I knew how to really, I know how to tell certain stories, but kind of articulating the perfect star method. When for Gartner was, I was in the final round interview, and I think it was between me and one other or two other people. And they told me the reason that they didn't go with me was because the task part of the star method just wasn't as, or the action part of the star method wasn't as like detailed as they would have wanted it. And, it got me thinking, if I'm really screwing up the behavioral analysis question on each one, I really just got to sit there and hone in on it. And, I just practiced a bunch. I really, really just wanted to have every story at the top of my head. So when someone asks me a question, I like, boom, I can just quickly go for it and not just have a bunch of stuff written down and trying to like look at certain things. But that was the big thing for Gartner. And I also went through HubSpot, which I completely screwed up the cold call. The cold call was not good at all. And again, I think that's something that really, I really learned a lot, because when I moved on to another interview for Snowflake, the cold call went great. They just decided to go with somebody else. And I think going through all of those mock cold calls was something that was really good for me, because when I did it for the Oracle one, I overcame every objection. I didn't stutter. I think everything went like really, really smoothly. So like, again, you go through all of these failures in order to get something that's meant for you. And it might take time. You're going to go through a bunch of rejections. You're going to reach out to hundreds of people on LinkedIn. You're going to get left on red a bunch of times, but what doesn't matter, it doesn't matter like how far you get before you get rejected, or how like many times you get rejected. What matters is you get back up and like refocus and keep moving forward, because SDR role is going to require, you're going to get told no every single day. And if you get rejected and you let that kind of take it personally and let that shut you down, you won't be able to succeed. So failing all those times really, really set me up for success, I think. So it was a great experience.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, I think it's easy to get caught up in that and feel like, a rejection is like the end of the world. And in reality, yeah, it sucks, but you still landed at like one of the top companies in the world at Oracle to start your tech sales career. It has no bearing on your ability to still get a job at a great company. And I'd be curious too, maybe a question there on the interview process. Like some of the pretty much every name you're throwing out is a very large, well-respected tech company. I'd love to just pick into if there's one or two things that you did really well to even get noticed and to line up several interviews. Anything you feel like you really did to stand out and get a significant number of interviews in the first place?
Yeah, so I think the main thing is connecting with going on LinkedIn, editing your page to get all the keywords and let people know that SDR is a role that you want to go for. And really just start connecting find good companies, reputable companies that you want to work for, and apply to, every sales development manager, business development manager, sales manager, director, positions that you want to be able to, get in contact with. So I did that. And, most of them don't even accept. And a lot of times they will, but they'll leave you on red. But every once in a while, you'll get that one guy to be like, sure, hop on a phone call with me, like either later today or tomorrow morning. And I got lucky enough for that to happen a few times. That for the Snowflake one in particular was pretty funny, because he just immediately sent me a message back, completely roasting my connection, my message to him, because I was asking for some time on his calendar, and he's just like, you can't do it this way. You have to really ask. You can't just like ask. So it was kind of interesting. He was kind of putting me down a little bit, but in my head, I was like, all right, I'll take the challenge. I'll do what he's asking. And he ended up fitting me into his calendar. And then I got 4 interviews after that. And, but just going out of your way, messaging people, cold messaging, because, that's what you're going to be doing for your job as well. And if it comes to it, cold call some hiring managers. I use Apollo.io, I think is what it's called, to get emails and phone numbers. And, if it takes to it, just give them a call. And, most people don't do that. Most people will just quick apply on LinkedIn. So if you either message or call someone, it really, really makes you stand out. And that's the really the best advice I can give when it comes to like getting attention or getting that foot in the door, just reaching out as much as you can.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I think it hopefully highlights too to anyone on the fence of like what it takes. Again, it's just like really increasing your surface area and doing the little things that a lot of people aren't. And even of the people that know to send messages, to your point, like maybe they're not even doing it at an exceptional level. You obviously figured out repeatable patterns that are working. And as you actually learn by sending messages that do or do not get responses, you get smarter and smarter over time. Absolutely. I'd love to maybe one last thing on the interview process as well, in terms of like these cold call exercises you had. I'm not sure if you got to like presentation rounds. Obviously it depends on the company, but never having done like a formal tech or tech sales presentation or cold call, any challenges you experienced there, and any advice to anyone on the outside looking in?
Advice for me would be to work on an intro, a very captivating introduction. I find that when it comes to practicing cold calls, I'm not a big fan of the permission-based openings. Connor Murray, I was subscribed to him a really long time, and he also worked at Oracle, which is pretty funny, but he always would say, hey, this is Oliver from Oracle. How are you? With that down inflection. And I thought that was really, really cool. And I practiced that, and everyone, they really, really liked it. And just having that practice, repeat it in your head a bunch of times, or say it out loud a bunch of times, as much as it takes for you to get comfortable and properly articulate it without stuttering or muttering and not knowing what you're talking about. But yeah, I mean, like when it comes to how I got like decent at the cold calls, it was just actually going through all these interviews where they had to have a mock cold call and just working on it a ton. And I think I got pretty good at it eventually. But yeah, when it comes to, I also had like a presentation that we had to do for Snowflake as well. And, I think just learning the important things about the company, know the product you're selling, know the competitors, how do we stand apart from your competition? What do we provide for customers, and know that to a T, and be able to articulate that properly. You just would be able to help you a lot more when it comes to these interviews. And, but yeah, just practice cold calls. And, it's really, if you do it a little consistent every single day, it doesn't have to be for that long, but if you do it every single day and stay consistent, you get better.
Totally. Yeah. And even just little things like practicing out loud, to your point, even just a little bit every day reinforces that, as opposed to this, someone who's just like, oh shit, I have an interview tomorrow, let me practice. And then you're like scrambling.
Absolutely.
So yeah, no, it's great to see. And I mean, tons of great nuggets here, so many gems. I guess if there's anything you feel like you haven't included, and or call it advice to your younger self, or anyone out there considering the change, I'd open it up to you for any final thoughts.
Yeah. So I think when it comes to what I can either give advice to somebody out there or myself, I know for myself, one thing that I had a lot of problem with was kind of getting into my head a lot. You're probably not going to get your first job that you apply to or you interview for. And you really have to get used to that. You have to be able to go through maybe a few weeks of these interviews and then start all over. And, the first few times really got into my head, and I did take some time off, and I got lazy, and I didn't want to apply anymore because you lose a lot of motivation. So when I say like some advice that I can give is stay consistent, even though you're not feeling very confident. You might get rejected from a job, but stay consistent, keep applying, don't wait too long, because it might be a few months and you realize, oh, I just wasted a few months of not applying or doing anything, where I could have been like actively interviewing, actively getting more reps in. And I think getting as many reps in as possible is the best way you can really practice. And especially with being face to face with somebody, because it's completely different when it's practicing on your own. And I think stay consistent. Don't get in your head too much, I think is some of the best advice I can really give. Just keep pushing.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, man. Result speaks for itself. Like, obviously we're super excited.
Thank you.
Another one at Oracle. And obviously that the amount of effort you put in is very clear. And I think hopefully is just a message to anyone watching of what it takes. Different strokes for everybody. Some people, get lucky early on and get an offer. Other people just grind it out and regardless get an amazing result. And love to see it, Oliver. Really appreciate the time and insight. And unless there's anything else, thanks again for the time.
Thank you so much, Eric. I really appreciate you having me on.